Ladies and gentlemen, it's been 8.5 years. It's been 17,000 games. But finally, I have broken 2,900 ELO, chess.com, and I am sharing it with all of you. I am super excited to make this video. It's been a long time coming. For the last half a decade, I could not break past 2,800. I would get up there and I would get nervous, similar to how many of you experience nervousness when you approach your rating goals. So did I. I just happened to have it at 2,850. But I finally broke through and I hit a new peak of 2,916. I'm going to try to push for 3,000 blitz, and if we get it, I'm going to be beyond ecstatic. I'll be sharing a few games with you in this video of how I got there and some of my favorite victories. And if you're watching this video early December 2025, you know that I've actually been quite successful as of late, so I'm very happy to continue the momentum. And you can get all of my courses for $49.99. I'm just letting you know. We've extended the Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale. You got 2 days left. Link in the description. No pressure, but here we go. First game of this video, I'm playing a molecular chemist. He's not actually a molecular chemist. This is a strong player from the United States who actually has me as his avatar, and I think this is not the first time he's been in a Gotham video. He opened the game with e4, and I played, of course, my favorite, the Scandinavian defense. By the way, absolutely love this opening. You've been seeing me play this as of late quite a bit with a lot of success, and it's gotten me some very good positions. He took my pawn on d5. I went queen takes d5. He played like this, bishop c4, bishop f5. And he chose a weird move here. He chose this move h3. Now, this is actually not a big mistake by any stretch of the imagination. It just prevents me from ever putting anything on g4 to put some pressure. I didn't really know what to do, so I developed my bishop to the b4 square. And here he played a weird move. He definitely, I mean, he was playing super weird. He played knight to d4, which is not a mistake, but it's clearly targeting my bishop. I didn't really have much to do here other than retreat. But the knight is sort of in the way of natural development, so I didn't quite understand what the long-term strategy was. He went a3, and in the Scandinavian, I mean, generally you are moving the bishop to this square with the intention to take the knight. Of course, I should have backed up. There was no need to give him the bishop pair, but I figured I was damaging his pawn structure, and I would have a very straightforward and simple game. Now white has a dark squared bishop, but it's not very easy to utilize, because if he goes d3, I will be taking this pawn. If he plays a4, bishop a3, I actually do suppose that is completely plausible and very much the best plan, but he played this. And my pawn was hanging, but I found a nice idea here, which first I brought my queen back toward the center, targeted his bishop, and when he moved it, I played e5. So I completely ignored the threat on b7, and I used this moment as an opportunity to generate some more active play. I kicked the knight out of the center of the board to make it a little bit more passive. He traded bishops with me, and now when the knight moves, I will simply either slide back my queen and protect my pawn or push my pawn a square, and I slid it back. This was my idea. And as we see, Scandinavian leads to a nice position from the opening, minus 0.25, and now in the long run, we will play against my opponent's damaged pawn structure. Yes, he has this file, but I can also always play b6. And because he has a dark squared bishop, it would be nice for me to coordinate my pieces against the dark squares. So I played knight bd7, he played c4. The idea was likely to take some space and maybe put his knight on the c3 square. Hold on. We had another window open, so I was just getting random move notifications, like what is going on? I played a6 here. The idea of a6 was actually to play b5. I wanted to advance on the queen side because I felt like opening up my queen site and my rook site was going to be beneficial for me in the long run. He went here, and I played rook e8, just putting my rook on an active square, and now I played this move b5. So now we have play down the middle, we have play down this side, we have play potentially down this side, and it's quite clear that black is controlling the position and has an advantage on the clock. Pawn takes, queen c2, very important move. Of course, I can simply take back on b5 on autopilot, but this move is much more vicious because after I take on c2, I'm attacking the rook, I'm attacking the pawn, and this pawn is still able to be captured. Before I play a move like this, I obviously look if my opponent has any checks or captures. He doesn't really have any because his rook is hanging, so then I really only calculate rook b2, queen d3, and I assume life is good. He went bishop g5, which protects his rook, but I simply take back on b5, and this is under attack, and this is under attack. So my whole idea of breaking through on the queen side, targeting his damage structure, works out perfectly, like an absolute charm. You will notice I haven't even touched anything here, because it doesn't need to be touched. It's totally stable, it's totally good, and it's giving my position a level of comfort and stability that then I can use to cause problems on the other sides of the board. Rook b5, I took on d3, his rook is hanging, and here you have to make a couple more accurate moves. I noticed that if my opponent takes my pawn on c7, he has a weak king, and this square would target this and this. So here I went queen a6. I thought this was a very nice idea, and generally as you improve at chess, you're going to notice patterns like this. The king is open, and obviously this would be a fork. So he had to leave, and then I played knight d5 and rook b8, traded it down, centralized my queen. I had a 30-second time advantage and an extra pawn. Just kidding, make that 2 extra pawns. And now the only thing I have to not blunder is some sort of back rank checkmate or some sort of fork to this knight. So you'll notice how I convert this position. I play rook a2, putting my rook on the second rank with pressure. He goes rook b2. I can just trade here. I gave a check, and I kicked out his bishop and offered a trade of queens. Very straightforward. My king is a little loose with the empty space, but there is no check. This is a fork, basically, and when my opponent plays this move, the queen is what we call overloaded. The queen is defending the bishop, and it's defending the rook. It's defending 2 pieces, which means, kaboom, rook e1. Rook e1 on the board. I don't know why chess.com does this thing now where it resets, but rook e1 on the board. If he takes my queen, I take. I'm up a bishop. If he takes this, I take. I'm up a bishop, and if he goes rook b8 check to try to take my piece on the next move, I would just take it, which is very important, by the way, that there is no check. It's very important anytime you play a tactic like this and you think, oh, if they take me, I take their rook, this rook might go somewhere. And what actually makes this possible is rook b8 check was not possible. I was very happy to win this game. And I've played Dimitar quite a bit. I think he's been in videos before. Maybe he played me to try to get into the climb to 3,000. And then I would like to show you a few more games. I had a couple of nice wins on the climb to 2,900. I played this FIDE master from France, 2 games. And then the last game of the video will be an international master from the Philippines. I didn't manage to play any GMs as I was climbing to 2,900. I would just boot up games and, I would get paired in the pool. Yeah, I mean, I can't really control who I play, and even in tournaments, I have been doing very well. So look, it wouldn't be a Gotham video without a Trumpowski. This is an opening that I use to win like 70% of my games. I get really nice positions where I'm very confident, very comfortable. I either checkmate my opponents, which, we will see in this game and in many others, or I try to go for a positional game. So here we have me setting up the pyramid, right? This is a way to defend my center. And here some people play e5. This is a very aggressive move. It's a maximalist type of move, e5, because I haven't actually put my knight on f3. After we trade, it looks like everything is great for black, but I mean, I just develop a knight, and the thing is, now it's not so simple for black to make a move, because if black plays knight takes f3, I can take with the knight, or even with the queen, and put pressure. Actually, going back sometimes is the best move, because you don't want to trade with me in a way that helps me develop my pieces. My opponent went here. Now, that is actually already a pretty severe mistake. The reason is my opponent is now going to lose time. They're going to lose time. What does that mean? They're going to lose time because the bishop needs to be on a different square. And after we trade, my knight improves. You'll notice, what do we teach people? We teach people develop and castle. Like bishop b5, castle the king, and then, no. Actually, already, it's possible to start punishing the opponent for opening inaccuracies. So I traded, and I played knight f3. Now, the bishop is targeted. I mean, okay, you can, of course, just defend it. But if you defend it, I mean, I'm going to take it, and then I'm going to have the bishop pair, and I'm going to be targeting this pawn and targeting the knight, which is guarding the pawn in the long run. My 2 pawns here prevent the pawn from easily coming forward, and so does my knight, so does my queen, etc. Already, black is in some trouble, and now black is, like, almost lost. Like, straight up after 9 moves. Speaking of which, Trumpowski, Scandinavian, all this is on Chessly. In my games that you're seeing here at 28.95, I'm playing all my same opening recommendations. I'm playing Scandinavian, Trumpowski, London, Carl Khan. I mean, and then I just, like, give it to you to learn for your own games. The reason why this position is already bad is because I can just take the knight. I can just take the knight, and the point is that black has to take with a pawn. If black takes with the queen, black simply will lose the pawn in the center of the board. And if they take with the pawn, then their pawn structure is terrible, and they are really going to have problems with the king safety. So my opponent gave me the pawn. He said, I want to castle my king. And before I took it, I gave a check, because this move is super annoying. You cannot block this check. If you block with the bishop, we trade, and then I take with check, and then you're going to lose this, you're going to lose this, you're going to be 2 pawns down. So my opponent had to move the king. I took. Opponent went bishop d6, and already this is a losing position, trying to protect this pawn. Not only do I have an extra pawn, my opponent's king is in the center of the board, and it's about to get a whole lot worse because I went here. I actually could have played even more emphatically. I could have went e4, e5, which I didn't quite appreciate. I kind of thought this pawn is already good. The e4, e5 is vicious. I was a little worried that there would be counterplay, so I played queen e4. They went here. I went queen h4. My opponent went f6, and I brought my bishop back. But that's not the best move because black is actually trying to trade the queens. There are some positions in chess where the opponent's queen is really strong, and trading it gives you really good long-term endgame survival chances. White is up a pawn here, so you would think white is fine trading, but actually white is up a pawn with a powerful initiative. And since this queen and king are together, it would be better not to trade the queen. It would be better to have the queen somewhere where it can be an attacking piece. This allowed this, and I was a little annoyed with myself because now, you know, the position is better for me, but it was much better for me. It was just winning for me. And now I actually have to, you know, put in a little bit of effort. So how did I expect to win this position in the long run? I have an extra pawn, and depending on how my opponent is going to trade, they will leave themselves with certain weaknesses. So I played bishop d5. Opponent went b5, and I targeted this bishop. I wanted it to take my knight, so actually if it took my knight, I would even consider taking with the pawn to open up the pressure here. Opponent went here, I kicked out the bishop, and then I went after the bishop. I didn't even go after the bishop. I wanted to mobilize my pawns, right? And I'm trying to stay active on the clock. b4 is an interesting move. I played f4 here, simultaneously looking for f5, but also ideas maybe to jump my knight into f5 and get that g-file. We traded, and it does look a little dangerous here for my king, but as long as you're not evaluating things in chess with words like, oh my gosh, that looks scary, as opposed to like, where's the actual threat? Okay, I see rook b8, rook b1, but I'm going to go knight f5. So I'm going to trade this bishop, and it's not even going to exist anymore. And my opponent went c4, activating the bishop, sacrificing a pawn. If I take, it's actually mate. So if I take that pawn, I get mated. The game ends. But knight f5 is a very clutch move because after this trade, my king will forever live on c2. It will never be in danger by the dark squared bishop. And the rooks for black are not strong enough. And this pawn's falling. So quite soon I will be up 2 pawns. And my opponent's king is way weaker than mine. And rook g1 is going to win even more material. So here I was feeling extremely confident. Bishop c5 was played. I went king c2, so this pawn cannot be taken with a check. And if it is taken, I pin the bishop to the king. I thought that was a very nice idea. Rook d6, rook g1, g6, and I simply took on c4. I took on c4 because what's going to happen is this still can't be taken. And when this gets taken, I'm getting in on g7, and I'm going to hunt on the 7th rank. And ultimately, after a trade and rook g7 and rook f7, I am not just winning, I'm also up a ton on time. And now it doesn't really matter. Like, you know, you convert this position quite effortlessly. Bishop e3, I took a pawn. I took another pawn. I have 2 extra pawns and 3 extra pawns. And another reason why this is easily winning is you start moving your pawns. My opponent went for my king. I just have to not blunder anything. Technically, I didn't even convert this the right way. Like here, I should have went forward with my king. But I figured with 7 seconds on the clock, it would end up being lost anyway. And it got a little dicey at the end, but we, you know, restabilized. And we got a totally winning position. And again, this thing is resetting. That's cool. That's a new feature. Obviously, we're just promoting the F and H pawns. The very next game we played, and I'm including this, I'm not trying to bully this person, but this is the game where I broke 2900. I played this individual and I won 3-0, and that is how I broke 2900. I actually was very proud of this game because in this game, it was clear I was attacking. In this game, I was not attacking. So in this game, I was under pressure from the very beginning, but I defended very well. And defense is the most underrated skill in chess and, frankly, all of sports, if we're being serious. It's very rare that, you know, defenders get the credit that they deserve. And I'm not just saying that as somebody who played defense in football and likes to play defense. And even in basketball, I pride myself not on my athleticism or my three-point shooting, or my rebounding, although that's pretty good. I'm a physical defender. I'm a scrappy 5'8.5", you know, slightly overweight man, and I like to play defense. I like to prevent people from scoring because that's part of the game. So chess is the same thing. In this game, I played something known as the Beef Eater. This is a real opening, I promise. This is a terrible move, though. The way you have to punish this is you have to take the space, not grab a pawn, and then, you know, what ultimately happens is, like, if I can triple your pawns like this just can't be any good. But my opponent got a very interesting position, played knight f3, and I know you're looking at this like, isn't this just all... Yeah, but I have to be careful. I have to develop my pieces first. I ended up taking on c3, which is wrong. Actually, taking on c3 is the wrong move. I should take on c5, and then I should castle, and I should leave these pawns as is. But I was looking at this like, there's no way this is survivable, right? So I took, and my opponent went rook c1. I took another pawn. So out of nowhere, I win 1, 2, and 3 pawns. But this is worse for black. I didn't know that. I just thought, like, my opponent is tilted. A lot of people don't rematch in chess, but when you play somebody and you've beaten them twice, and suddenly in the opening, they're giving you literally all of their pawns. I'm looking at this like, there's no way this is good. And suddenly I'm like, no, this is actually quite dangerous. This doesn't look very pleasant at all. So my opponent went bishop c3. It's a very natural move. You target my position over here. And to climb to 2900, you have to be very accurate. You know, it's quite clear my opponent is looking at, you know, this. And if anything, they're going to put their bishop on a1, and I'm going to have a headache for the rest of the game. But I still thought it was better not to let them take, and I went knight e4, targeting the bishop, targeting the pawn. They went bishop a1, and here I'm a little embarrassed of my next move. I thought the move that I played actually made a lot of sense, because, you know, I'm like, my knight is hanging. You know, queen d4 is coming, and I want to meet queen d4 with pawn to f6 because they're trying to mate me. But if I play queen d4 f6, I lose my knight, so d5. Now, it's a mistake, but only if white plays a certain way. What I should have apparently played is I should have taken this pawn, which I thought made no sense because here, queen d4, but this is actually what the computer wants. Now, I'm not going to lie, losing both my knights and allowing white to have, like, all of this didn't seem very nice. You know, the computer wants this, just cocoon defending, nothing past the third rank. But I thought my move made a lot of sense because if en passant, right, I would just take with the knight. And yeah, that's what happened. You know, I was like, okay. And now I'm going to go pawn to f6 and maybe bring my knight back and defend my king like that. I actually thought this was very reasonable. Computer thinks it's +2, but the only move for white is knight g5, which doesn't even have a threat. Knight g5 is just setting up, knight g5 sets up bishop d5. That is the idea. That's what it wants. And then it kind of prevents me from going f6. But I mean, I just was like, okay, I go and I attack the knight. So knight g5 is the only move. My opponent went queen d4, allowing f6, which was my idea, and then knight g5. So now the point is I cannot take the knight because I get mated, but there is a threat, and the threat is bishop d5. And as the game was going on, I was thinking, oh, like, I'm really on the verge of losing. I mean, I'm not going to break 2900 again. It's going to be my third or fourth time getting close, past my peak, and not breaking it. But I went queen a5. And when I played this move, I suddenly realized, yeah, I don't know how my opponent is going to do anything to me. I'm attacking the knight. And I figured the best move was h4, just defend the knight against my queen. And if h4 had been played, I would have gone queen b6 because, again, if you're under attack, the best thing to do is to trade the queen. It's the most powerful piece. With no queen, I'm never worried about getting mated. But what happened is my opponent rushed in with bishop d5, king g7, and suddenly there is no move here at all. And on the next move, I was going to go queen b6. I was going to start offering a queen trade. I was going to start bringing my bishop out somewhere, maybe try to trade the rook. Like, I'm up material, so I obviously should try to trade the most powerful pieces. My opponent spent nearly all of their time here, and I think this was the official tilt. This was like, I cannot believe that I'm losing to this complete moron who's probably going to put me in a YouTube video. Sorry, I guess that actually happened. And yeah, my opponent went for an interesting sequence here, but it just doesn't work. They sacrificed the rook, but this just doesn't work. And the idea was clearly to get the knight here, you know, get the knight and all this. But I just took, and my opponent lost on time. They ultimately just, they flagged. He stalled the clock from 17 to 0. Probably my opponent had calculated knight e6. Also, my opponent could have been drunk. I have no idea. It's a French player. I'm playing in the evening. Could be 4 a.m., 5 a.m. And maybe here my opponent just, like, tilted. Maybe they thought that they had a checkmate, like they thought that if they sack the queen, it's a mate. It looks like mate, except I can take. So I'm not sure, but I was very proud of how I defended this position because it's clear I went in for a big risk, but you know, you don't get the reward without some risk. And here my opponent had to find knight g5, bishop d5, queen d4. Instead, they did it like this. And I was very proud of how I was defending like this. And then, you know, king g7 and everything is guarded. Everything is protected. I thought I played a very nice game. And I will show you the last game, one of the last games that I played to not just cross 2900. This was the game that made me 2903. The game I got my peak 2916 was absolutely horrible. It was a terribly played game by both my opponent and myself. So instead, I will just show you another game as a little bonus for being here. Yeah, I told you, in the Trumpowski, I have been getting some really, really nice games. Against b6 in particular, I have been playing in a way where I take the knight on f6 and then play like a typical queen's gambit, just c4, knight c3. But the control over d5 is so strong here. And then this knight goes to h4. I actually played this in a classical game. I also played this against Aravind in a blitz game that I ended up losing, but I had a very good position. This is a very nice line. This knight is on f4. You trade the light-scored bishop so that this bishop just doesn't have any strength at all. And then the structure for black is bad in the long run, like this pawn structure. And, you know, you put your queen out, you do something active, and that's what I did. I went bishop e2, bishop f3. My opponent went queen c8. So after 10 moves, I just have a comfortably better position. And the thing is in chess, like, when the opponent violates principles for long enough, you like, opportunities will present themselves in certain situations where otherwise they would not. So for example, I played queen a4 check. And the reason why this move is so annoying for black is, like, you don't have the natural queen block because your bishop is hanging. c6 is horrendously ugly because now you've completely destroyed your own bishop. Knight d7 is possible, but pinning yourself, and so my opponent was like, well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to move my king, and my king is totally safe on f8, which is true. The problem is people are not very good when their king is so poorly positioned because it's a lot harder to start an attack. It's a lot harder to make an easy middle game plan when the liability of your position is the king. The king's positioning really matters. And so what I did, I played something really funny here. I just went back to d1. And the point was, we have this position, but I'm so confident that my position is so good that just this was enough. Like, now that I know your king will always stay exactly there, I think my position is extremely promising. The computer wants me already to play, like, you know, a bishop trade and try to attack the center. If I attack the center, it's very well supported, so it makes sense. But if I were to go d5, my opponent would go e5 attacking my knight, and then I would need to figure out what I'm doing. But that's still the key idea. And h5, my opponent played, trying to get me to take this pawn, so they open up this bishop. And now I close the center. And now we're really going to see what's what, because without the tricks of the bishop on b7, justifying all of this nonsense over here is going to be quite difficult. My opponent should have absolutely went a e5 here, given me this pawn, then went e4, and then I would have played like bishop e2 or knight. I guess knight f6 doesn't. Why does knight f6 not work? Okay, I mean, it just works. But obviously here, at least my opponent is doing something with the open h file. But this is the wrong idea. This is not the right idea. Why? I take on e6, and the queen, second time in this video, is overloaded, just like in the very first game. Queen cannot defend both things. Pawn takes e6. Now I play knight e6. I play this move. I also could have played bishop takes and then knight e6, but this is nicer. It's nicer because I don't trade the bishop. That version, I would have also won the pawn. But in this version, if my opponent takes my knight, I'm getting the bishop and coming back and defending my king. But if they don't do that, the difference is that I never help my opponent. That's the difference. Like, you look at this position, you go, wait a minute, I just take the bishop and then I take the pawn. Yeah, it's check, and you have to not get mated. But this is even stronger because you don't change the position. The queen guards the bishop. Now I have ideas of there and, you know, coming this way. I was very proud of how I converted this. I just played h3, completely stopped anything from coming down the h-file. Opponent went here. I just played b4 because might as well go for b5 and open up the position. And my opponent, it's like poker. You bluff. You play knight g4. Oh, if I take, there's pawns attacking my king. No, this is just free, and on this move, of course, I can just move my bishop, but loud phone going off. My bishop is hanging, but the rook is worth more. And so what I did here is I played knight e4, and this is just clean, because even though my bishop is hanging, I'm going to take a rook with a check and then break into the position. I'm also threatening knight takes d6, so this is a totally winning position. My opponent, I don't know if they mouse slipped at the end, but even if g takes f3 was played, I would have taken. I can take on d6, I can take on f, even though this is a ridiculous move because it allows a check. Queen f3 is super clean. Queen h5 check is a massive threat. Take with check, bring the rook, take the pawn, take the pawn. You don't even have to take this pawn because in the long run there might be tricks. Yeah. Right now my rating is I don't know what. Let me check. It's 2906. It's actually the exact same rating it was after I played this game, because I drew my very next game. I will try to push for 3,000. I will also try to push past my peak of 2916. But for now, I am so thrilled. It took me thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of games to get past my plateau of like 2860 peak. I just couldn't do it. I got to 2870, 2880. Every time I got close, I would get nervous. I finally broke through. Now all of you have to hit your own rating goals. Let me serve as motivation. And that's all I have for you today. I've got tournaments coming up in December. More information will come out once I play them. I might not broadcast them just to have a little bit less nerves, and so on. But yeah, we crossed 2,900. If you watch this first couple days it comes out, I'm not sure you're going to get a better offer of $49.99 for the first year for 70 different courses. The holiday party is going on. The holiday event is going on Chessly. Collect pawns, earn pawns for the pawn shop. Super exciting stuff. That's all I have. And get out of here.